If you've ever wondered, hey, whatever happened to Seaman, then this is probably the video for you. The Sega Dreamcast was home to so many innovative gaming experiences, but the odd virtual pet simulator may be the system's most original and ambitious. It pushed the boundaries of what was possible in gaming at the time, and served as an early example of voice-operated AI, a technology that has advanced by leaps and bounds since the turn of the millennium. The fascinating story of the development of Seaman has been a tale well told in the past, so rather than retread old ground and talk about its origins, I'll explore some of the Seaman offshoots over the years. Yes, there was more than one single Seaman release, and in fact there were multiple Seamans spread out on the Dreamcast, PC, and the PlayStation 2 platforms in Japan, including a true Seaman sequel. Without further ado, let's take a look at what happened to Seaman on the Dreamcast and beyond. Many people may be surprised to learn that Seaman's story on the Dreamcast didn't end with the first iconic game. Sega published Seaman in North America on August 9th in the year 2000, and the House of the Blue Blur is often mistakenly believed to be the originator or owner of the franchise. While Sega would have a strong connection to the Seaman IP in several ways leading up to the original's release and beyond, in Japan the Dreamcast title was actually self-published by its developer Vivarium through the Digitoys label, which would also publish some of company founder and Seaman creator Yutaka Ute Saito's other games in the years to follow. The Japanese edition came out an entire year earlier on July 29, 1999, full title Kindan no Pet Seaman, Gaze Hakase no Jikkenshitsu, or The Forbidden Pet Seaman, Dr. Gaze's Laboratory, and was available in two different packages. The standard version retailed for 7,480 yen and came in a larger box that housed the game, no cover or back art for the jewel case, bundled with the Dreamcast controller microphone attachment, which we all know was necessary to play the game. Also necessary to enjoy getting your feet wet in Seaman was a virtual memory unit, the Dreamcast's memory card, so a special package was also offered at a slightly higher price tag of 8,580 yen that included the game, mic, and a custom translucent Seaman branded VMU. It was a revolutionary title at the time, and got a decent promotional push through traditional and non-traditional advertising. Though perhaps the biggest way of saying this game is a pretty big deal would be with a limited edition console, and that's what Seaman got. The Dreamcast Seaman model system and controller cases were molded in the same translucent style as the special VMU mentioned earlier that came with the deluxe set, which this bundle also included. Truly a limited edition, it was only available to purchase at music and entertainment mega retailer HMV in Japan, and only 500 pieces were manufactured. Its rarity means it is a heavily sought after collector's item today, often commanding price tags far beyond the $1,000 threshold. The hardcores go nuts for Seaman. Just a few months after the game's launch, Vivarium put together another Seaman release, one that arrived just in time for the holiday season of 1999. Christmas Seaman, 思いを伝えるもう一つの方法, or Christmas Seaman, another way of expressing your feelings, was a gaming experiment as unique as the game that spawned it. This piece of software was only on sale for a little over a week, from December 16th to Christmas Eve, December 24th. Here's a basic rundown of how everything worked. The person who wanted to send a special message during the holiday seasons would purchase the Christmas Seaman message kit for 3,080 yen at participating retailers during the aforementioned sales period. The message kit came with two discs, the first being a message disc. Popping it into the Dreamcast and connecting to the internet, the sender would speak with Seaman and do his best to explain to the fishman what he wanted to say to the recipient. This information would be stored online and accessible via the other disc included in the set, the present disc. The lucky man, woman, or perhaps talking fish who received this disc could hear their custom Christmas message by placing it into their Dreamcast, establishing an online connection, and using a unique 16-character serial number to hear Seaman deliver the sender's thoughts. From here, the recipient had the option of speaking with Seaman to send his or her reply to the original sender, who in turn would access the message using the same serial number. If you wanted to send messages to multiple people, present discs were also sold individually for 980 yen apiece, allowing the sender to purchase a single message disc and save some cash. A very cool but unusual way of sending a message to someone for Christmas in 1999. Unfortunately, the sender was left in the dark as to exactly what words Seaman would pass on, as there was no way on his end to check the message before or after sending. Because of that, speaking simply and directly to the Seaman was important to avoid misunderstandings, much like the game itself. Another unfortunate thing is that unless someone recorded their time with Christmas Seaman on VHS or something back in 1999, there's no way to go back and check on those words, since messages weren't saved and could only be accessed for a total of 10 days, from December 16th to December 26th of that year. After that, all server data would be erased and the Christmas Seaman message and present discs would cease to work as originally intended, turning them into fancy drink coasters or shiny objects to keep pesky crows from tearing up your trash or garden. I guess in the present they've become something else completely, and those are somewhat hard to find collectibles for aging nerds. Christmas Seaman provided a super niche experimental way of communicating over an extremely limited time, touted by Vivarium as the 10 most romantic days in a millennium. Beyond the time limitations, the recipient also had to have a Dreamcast and internet access in Japan in '99, a very small pool of people for sure. I think the true drive behind this whole Christmas Seaman thing was to get more people to give Dreamcast consoles to friends and loved ones that holiday season and fill Sega's merry stockings with yen. But whatever the case, if you received this disc from someone, you must be very special, whether the message is one of love or hate, hopefully the former. Like the standard game, Christmas Seaman also got the limited edition Dreamcast console treatment, with a red system, red VMU, and red controller with Christmas colored buttons, all adorned with a Santa Seaman silhouette. Again, this system was produced in extremely small numbers, 850 this time around, another Japanese HMV store exclusive item. Those who snagged this or the other Seaman console up before prices skyrocketed, well, you certainly give me Seaman envy.
話せって言ってんだよ。おい。何すんだよ。
Seaman was quickly established as a sort of killer app for the Dreamcast, and its originality and innovation were often praised and celebrated by the public and games media. At the 3rd annual Japanese Media Arts Festival in 1999, Seaman took home an award for excellence in digital interactive art, a prize previously won by some of the gaming industry's biggest hits such as Final Fantasy VII and Metal Gear Solid. Though it lost the grand prize that year to Sony's ISAO Robotic Dog, Vivarium rode the momentum of its win and published a revision to the original Seaman, touting its achievements at the Japan Media Arts Festival and other ceremonies. Released on August 10, 2000, Seaman 2001 is in all honesty the same game as the standard Seaman. However, it includes more topics and slightly better speech and vocabulary recognition, and caring for and evolving the forbidden pet is a little easier. There are also a few minor changes such as visual variations to food pellets and the VMU not beeping anytime the game saves, but again it's very much the same game with only a handful of tweaks and improvements. It wasn't offered in any sort of discount and instead retailed for the same price as its predecessor, 7,480 yen for the game and microphone attachment. No VMU set for this release. Be warned that Seaman 2001 is classified as a completely different game from the first version, and if you try to play it with an old Seaman save on the VMU, it will be overwritten and you'll have to start from scratch, which kinda sucks. Though as it stands, Seaman 2001 is the definitive way to experience Seaman. On the Dreamcast, anyway. Hey, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. An additional piece of Seaman software from around this time was the Seaman Esa Disc, or Pet Food Disc. Published a month after Seaman 2001 on September 30th, 2000, it was included in a larger package called the Seaman Ikusei Shien Kitto, the Seaman Raising Support Kit. The kit is made up of this disc housed in a large hardbound book that provides all the information you ever needed to know about Seaman, its history, mythology, biology, well-known sayings, and more, presented as if everything was based in reality. The images in this book are quite amusing, especially some of the scientific sketches and diagrams, though most of these would be familiar to anyone who followed the game's marketing or owns this little book here, something that Sega gave out as part of its 1-2-3 Seaman campaign for March of that year. Anyway, as for the Esa Disc, all it basically does is restock food pellets for your Seaman. If you're familiar with the game, you'll know that you start off with a few of these, but can also raise some bugs to use as fodder as well. And if you're not careful, you can run out of both. So this disc makes it possible to save your Seaman from starving to death in case you screw up. You can replenish your entire supply of food pellets up to 3 times per Seaman save, and this disc is compatible with both the vanilla and 2001 editions of the game. The book and disc combo retailed for 1900 yen plus tax, but strangely was also apparently available to rent at Japan's largest rental chain, Tsutaya, for 400 yen a week. I understand some people want to avoid clutter and the disc is something you're likely only to use once or twice, but buying the entire kit would have been the way better deal in my opinion, if only for the fantastic book alone. The last Seaman related things on the Dreamcast I'd like to cover here are a pair of rare and unique collector's items. First is the ISAO Promotional Disc by Seaman, a not-for-sale Dreamcast GD-ROM distributed in 2000 to retailers in order to promote Seaman in Sega's ISAO.net service. All this unassuming disc contains is Seaman in his tank having a highly scripted conversation with customers talking about a variety of topics, mainly the internet and ISAOnet. What exactly is ISAOnet? To completely answer that question, you'd probably need an hours-long documentary done by someone much more qualified than myself to cover decades of gaming and internet history in Japan. But in short, ISAO was an internet service provider and online service developer founded by ISAO Okawa, chairman of Sega from 1984 until his untimely death in 2001, a company that was responsible for pretty much all of Sega's online operations related to the Dreamcast at the time. Obviously, the name ISAO was inspired by Mr. Okawa himself, though it also stood for Interactive Services for Amusement Online. During my time playing Seaman 2001, my Seaman friend brought up ISAOnet when speaking about the internet, so it was fitting and not so surprising that he'd also advertised the service through this rare and now very pricey promotional software. My copy is sealed and I'm keeping it that way for now just in case I need to put any children through college someday. But if you want to see the contents of the disc in full, you can view it online on Jacoby789's YouTube channel. If you don't understand Japanese though, you won't get much out of it. Finally, what may be the rarest piece of Seaman anything in existence is not surprisingly one of the most interesting. Seaman 語り継ぐ経営 Okawa Ryu. Seaman, the Okawa method of management, was a novelty version of Seaman that was made specifically for Sega employees. Packaged in a stylish wood box that really complements the Japanese aesthetic, this version of Seaman was limited to only 300 sets and was only made available at a company birthday party for Chairman ISAO Okawa in 2000, which was likely his final birthday celebration. Besides the sentimentality and rarity of this item, what makes it so special is that the Seaman's typical face and voice is replaced by those of Mr. Okawa's, and the conversations focused on the chairman imparting his invaluable knowledge and wisdom in the business world, as well as the inner workings of Sega. For this reason, the game is also known as Seaman Esa Okawa Edition. It's understandably something that anyone who was lucky enough to pick it up at the time would hesitate to part with, meaning that if and when a copy shows up for sale anywhere, it carries an extremely high premium. If there ever was a Seaman Holy Grail, this is it. As you can see, there was more than enough Seaman on the Dreamcast to make waves and leave a mark in the vast ocean of video game history. However, when it comes to Seaman, we've only skimmed the surface, and the franchise will continue to live on beyond Sega's last console. And that's part 1 of a larger look at Seaman in Japan. Stick around for later parts, coming out soon. This is Jimmy Hoppa from Import Gaming for the win. Take care for now, and keep that Seaman love coming.